Hi there, friends. How are you today on this beautiful day? Mrs. Guerra here with another kitchen edition. So happy because I am going to show you how to jar tomatoes, and you will have for the whole year. One of my favorite things to do. I love baking and I love cooking and I love jarring tomatoes. So in few easy steps, you will too learn how to do some tomato jarring. Okay, so let's start with few little things that we need to jot down and we will continue. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to sanitize the jars, bowl jars, with lids. So you're going to sanitize the lids, you're going to sanitize the jars before we continue. Okay, then you're going to need one big pot of boiling water. That's where we're going to boil the tomatoes, and I'm going to show you step by step. The second thing you're going to need is a bushel of tomatoes. Could be plum tomatoes or Roma tomatoes. With this recipe, I'm making a bushel, which is roughly about 75 to 85 plum tomatoes. And that will roughly, give or take, fill 12 jars. Okay, now you can purchase again plum or Roma tomatoes, and you can go to your nearest market and ask for a case of plum or Roma tomatoes. I usually like to pick them very ripe and very beautiful color to it, a very nice sheen to it. Make sure that it's not doesn't have like little dark spots or little dents. Okay, then from there we are going to also have basil. So you're going to need at least 2 or 3 leaves of basil per jar. And lastly, we are going to use 5 tablespoons of salt. Okay, so if you're ready, make sure you take notes. And don't forget to subscribe to me, Mrs. Guerra, with this kitchen edition, okay? So happy to be here, and I'm so glad that we can do this virtually. And also, I'm so happy to pass this on to you, okay? See you in 1 second. So the first thing you're going to do is wash your tomatoes, rinse them, wash them very, very well. And you're going to do this method at least twice, okay? So wash, scrub them very, very well. Already did the first process before I started videotaping. So here we go. Wash, rinse, beautiful. Keep going. You're gonna do this process 2 times, okay? Beautiful. The next step will be, you will take your tomatoes after they're washed. You're going to make an X, just like so. This helps me peel the tomatoes when I finish boil them. So you're going to mark it with an X on top and proceed. Another one, another little X, just like so, you see? And as you're marking them with an X, you just want to make sure that your tomato doesn't have any bruising, and if it does, just go around and just get rid of it, okay? So just continue marking all your plum tomatoes just like so. Beautiful. The next step will be putting all the tomatoes into a big pot just like this. I actually have 2 going on because I had too many tomatoes. So on the first pot, we are going to fill it up this much of water. Fill the pot, the stock pot, with all your plum tomatoes. Then you are going to fill it up with water. Okay, we're gonna boil it for a good 15 minutes until you see the skins peeling off. But make sure you don't fill the pot all the way up here with tomatoes. Just leave some space for the water. I'm going to add more water, just like so. This one is already ready, almost ready to peel. Okay. So again, you're going to let it simmer for a good 15 minutes or less. You will know because you will see that the skin will peel off very smoothly. Okay, great. So next step, the water is boiling and the tomatoes are done already. And how you will know is because the skin is, you see, coming off the tomato. You see how beautiful? Be very, very careful. Now you can transfer them into a bowl, into another little bowl like this, a bowl like this, big dish. Put them in there. Be very, very careful. Handle with care because very, very hot. Very, very hot. I have another pot going on, so I got 2 pots. The first one is almost done, and I'm going to transfer all the tomatoes. You see this one, how it peeled off all by itself? That means it's ready. Right there. Okay, so I'm going to transfer everything just like so. The next step will be peeling the tomatoes, just like so. You see how easy the skin comes off? That's what you want to see. You see, but make sure they're cooled a little bit because they're still very, very hot, okay? Very, very hot, just like that. Then once you peel them and the skin comes off, you are going to cut them in half, just like that. Cut them, dice them, you see? You're gonna cut, just like so. I'm gonna have the little skins go onto another little bowl. Okay, I'm gonna put this right here. So I wanna make sure I show you everything. Okay, there you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, now the next one, you're going to transfer onto another clean bowl. That's what you want to do. There you go. Well, they're very, very juicy. See, the next one, skin off. Skin off. See how nice plump tomatoes. You want to make sure you don't leave any skin behind. I particularly don't like my jarred tomatoes with skin. Even crushed tomatoes, and when I saute them, I make sure I take the skin off. And just proceed until you're done with all your tomatoes. Nicely diced, like that. See the steam? Just make sure they cool down a little bit more. And transfer them onto your little pot, just like that, okay? So, look how beautiful. You see, once you pour it and you dice it and you peel them, look, I made a whole bowl of crushed tomatoes, crushed by hand. Beautiful, look how beautiful they are. And look at all that water that came out of those beautiful ripe tomatoes, plum tomatoes. I'm using today Roma tomatoes. Look how beautiful. Now we're going to add at least 5 tablespoons of salt, or a handful of salt. But before you do that, as you can see, it's steaming. We need to let it sit for at least 20 minutes. I don't want your little hands to get burned, okay? So we're gonna set it right here. I'm going to add the salt, and then I'm gonna let it rest for a good half an hour until it cools down before I start jarring the bowl jars that I have. So just about this much. I know it seems like a lot, but it isn't. And you're gonna sprinkle everything onto your crushed tomatoes that you just crushed by hand. and you're just going to mix it. Okay, mine is cooled already. It has cooled for at least half an hour. See, look how beautiful. Look how beautiful. So you just want to incorporate the salt in with the crushed tomatoes before you jar everything, okay? Right here in this big bowl, stainless steel bowl, I said you need at least 74 to 85 plum tomatoes or Roma tomatoes, and I exactly used 74 and made all this. Wow! So this was 1 bushel of plum tomatoes. Okay, so I'm incorporating all that inside. You see, my hands are clean. I wash them. Every time I do this, I wash them at least 5 times or 6 times because you're using your hands. See how beautiful, 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 beautiful. And again, just let it rest before you jar them, okay? Put the salt, mix it very, very well, and then let it sit for a little bit, okay? Yes? Good, I'm so glad that we're here together doing this beautiful jarring or canning of tomatoes. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. And finally, for the last step of tomato jarring, my final product. Beautiful hand-crushed tomatoes, sweet, delicious. I got my mason jars already ready. They were, I had them boiling for a good half an hour without the lids. The lids were boiled, disinfected also for a good 45 minutes. So I boiled in each stock pot at least 5 or 7. I let them simmer with a lot of water and a little bit of vinegar. And you see how nice and clean they are? And your lids, don't forget your lids, okay? Okay, that's the first process. Okay, now I got my jars here. And from my beautiful backyard, these aromatic basil leaves, sweet basil leaves. You can find them at the grocery store too, but I just picked mine out from my backyard. See, we are going to use at least 2 to 3 leaves of basil. It's all up to you. You could put 2, you could put 3, you could put more. But that's all we're doing. We're just jarring the tomatoes. They have only salt and the basil. Okay? We're not adding anything else to it. So the first one, let's just fill it up. Just like so. See? Look how beautiful. Then I'm going to throw in leaves of basil. Just push them down, and push them over here, okay? Then continue filling up the jars. Now that you have jarred all your tomatoes in these beautiful mason jars, just like that, look at this, how beautiful they look. Now, for this last process, my stock pot, just like this, holds 5 jars of mason jars in here. So I'm going to put 5 in my pot with water. I'm going to let it boil for 45 minutes. After it's done, turn the heat off. You want medium heat, not low nor high. Let them boil for 45 minutes. Then turn the heat off. Let them sit in the same water until every jar has cooled, or you can leave it until overnight. Then you can properly take them out and store away. So again, enjoy. Thank you so much for watching me, for following me. My name is Mrs. Guerra, and Mrs. Guerra or Mrs. G, and I've had a pleasure of doing this recipe for you guys. Very easy, not complicated. Again, thank you. I have enjoyed this time with you all. Please subscribe, and every other week I will be putting out a new recipe. Okay, so have a great day, enjoy, and buen provecho, bon appetit to all my friends. Thank you so much. Mrs. Guerra.